1541. The gavel strikes 3 times, but nobody hears it because standing at the defense table, trembling but defiant, is a 13-year-old black girl holding a stack of papers that look too heavy for her small hands. Your Honor, she says, her voice cutting through the murmur. I know I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to defend my father today. The courtroom doesn't just laugh, it roars. Attorneys smirk, jurors exchange glances, even the bailiff covers his mouth to hide a grin. The prosecutor, a silver-haired woman in a pristine navy suit, doesn't even look up from her notes. She's already won, everyone knows it. But the girl doesn't sit down. My name is Jasmine Carter, she continues, louder now, and my father didn't do what they say he did. Judge Brennan, a stern man with wire-rimmed glasses, leans forward. Young lady, this is a criminal trial, not a school project. Your father has a court-appointed attorney. Who told me yesterday he's taking a plea deal? Jasmine interrupts. Her voice cracks, but she doesn't cry. He said, my dad should just admit to something he didn't do, because it's easier, because no one will believe him anyway. The laughter dies, just a little. Across the courtroom, a Korean man in an expensive charcoal suit sits in the front row of the gallery. His name is David Kang, and his face is a mask of perfect composure. He's the reason they're all here. The victim, the man Jasmine's father allegedly assaulted during a business dispute that turned violent. David's testimony 3 days ago was flawless, sympathetic, detailed, devastating. Next to Jasmine, her father, Marcus Carter, sits with his head down, his hands cuffed in front of him. He's 41, but looks 60. 3 months in county jail will do that. He hasn't looked at his daughter since she stood up. Please, baby, he whispers. Don't do this. She ignores him. Your Honor, I've been studying this case every night. I know what happened, and I can prove my dad is innocent. She looks directly at David Kang. If you'll let me cross-examine the witness. The courtroom holds its breath. Judge Brennan removes his glasses. Miss Carter, I appreciate your passion, but this is highly irregular. You're a minor, you have no legal training. I understand, Your Honor, but the Sixth Amendment guarantees my father the right to confront his accuser, and he's asking me to do it for him. This is a lie. Marcus hasn't asked for anything except for her to go home, to let the adults handle it, to forget about him. But Jasmine learned something in the last 3 months. Sometimes you have to lie to tell the truth. The judge looks at the court-appointed attorney, a tired man named Phillips who's been practicing law longer than he's been sober. Phillips shrugs. If the defendant consents, I have no objection. Marcus finally looks up at his daughter. His eyes are red. Baby, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do, she whispers back, because nobody else will. Judge Brennan sighs, a sound that carries the weight of 1,000 cases just like this one. Against my better judgment, I'll allow it. But Miss Carter, one misstep, one inappropriate question, and you're done. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. The prosecutor stands, objection written all over her face. Your Honor, this is a circus. We can't allow. Overruled, the judge cuts her off. Mr. Kang has already testified. If the defense wants to recall him for cross-examination, that's their right. Call your witness, Miss Carter. David Kang rises slowly. He's 38, handsome in that polished way that comes from money and good skincare. He owns 3 car dealerships in the city. He drives a Tesla. He donates to children's hospitals. When he takes the stand, he looks at Jasmine with something that might be pity. She doesn't see it because she's staring down at her notes, her hands shaking so badly the papers rustle. Breathe, her father whispers. Just breathe. She does. Then she stands. Mr. Kang, you testified 3 days ago that my father attacked you in the parking lot of your dealership on March 15th at approximately 8 p.m. Is that correct? That's correct. And you said he punched you in the face, breaking your nose and giving you a concussion? Yes, David says quietly. It was terrifying. Can you tell the court why my father was at your dealership that night? David shifts in his seat. Your father worked for me as a mechanic. He'd been stealing parts, selling them on the side. When I confronted him, he became violent. Jasmine nods slowly, like she expected this. How long had my father worked for you? About 2 years. And in those 2 years, did you ever have any problems with him before? David hesitates, just for a second. No, he was a good employee until I discovered the theft. So, a good employee with no history of violence suddenly attacked you? Objection. Argumentative. Sustained. Jasmine doesn't flinch. Mr. Kang, you said the attack happened at 8 p.m.? Yes. And you were alone in the parking lot? Yes, I was closing up. No security cameras? We had cameras, but they were being serviced that week. Convenient, Jasmine mutters. The prosecutor jumps up. Objection. Sustained, Miss Carter. Keep your commentary to yourself. Jasmine flips a page. Mr. Kang, when the police arrived, you had a broken nose, correct? Yes. Bleeding? Yes. Did the paramedics take you to the hospital? They did. And what hospital was that? Mercy General. Jasmine pulls out a paper. Your Honor, I'd like to enter Defense Exhibit A, the medical report from Mercy General. The prosecutor stands. Objection. Foundation. This witness can't authenticate this document. Your Honor, Jasmine says, her voice stronger now. Mr. Kang just testified he went to Mercy General. This is his medical record from that night. I'll allow it, Judge Brennan says. Let's see where this goes. Jasmine hands a copy to David. Mr. Kang, can you read the highlighted portion for the court? David's jaw tightens. Patient presence with nasal. Fracture, moderate swelling, no sign of concussion. You testified under oath that you had a concussion, Jasmine says. The medical report says otherwise. David clears his throat. I felt disoriented, I assumed. You assumed or you lied? Objection. Withdrawn. Jasmine moves closer. Mr. Kang, the report also notes something interesting. Can you read the timestamp? David's face pales slightly. Patient admitted at 7:15 p.m. 7:15, Jasmine repeats, but you said the attack happened at 8 p.m. How did you get to the hospital 45 minutes before you were attacked? The courtroom erupts in whispers. David stutters. I must have been mistaken about the time. Mistaken. Jasmine's voice is cold now, not the voice of a 13-year-old girl, but something harder. Mr. Kang, did my father attack you at all? Before David can answer, the doors at the back of the courtroom swing open. A woman walks in, mid-30s, Korean, wearing scrubs and an expression of pure determination. She walks straight down the aisle and doesn't stop until she's at the bar. Your Honor, she says, her accent thick, I need to speak. Who are you? The judge demands. My name is Yuna Kang, she says. I'm David's wife, and I need to tell the truth about what happened that night. The courtroom freezes. David's face goes white. Jasmine's eyes widen. Marcus leans forward, confusion written all over his face. The judge bangs his gavel. Order. Miss Kang, this is highly irregular. I don't care about regular, Yuna says. My husband is lying and an innocent man is going to prison because of me. The prosecutor is on her feet, Your Honor. This is completely improper. Sit down, the judge snaps at her. Then to Yuna, approach the bench. Both attorneys join the hurried conference, but Jasmine can hear pieces. She needs to be sworn in. This could be grounds for mistrial. We need to verify. The judge makes a decision. We're taking a 15-minute recess. When we return, Miss Kang will take the stand. Court is adjourned. The gavel falls like thunder. David tries to stand, tries to reach his wife, but the bailiff blocks him. Yuna, don't do this, he hisses. She doesn't even look at him. Jasmine sinks into her chair, her whole body shaking. What just happened? Marcus whispers. I don't know, she breathes, but I think we just got help. 15 minutes later, Yuna sits in the witness chair, her hand on the Bible, swearing to tell the truth. The courtroom is packed now, people standing in the back, sensing something is about to break wide open. Miss Kang, the judge says, you understand you're under oath? Yes, Your Honor. And you have information relevant to this case? Yes. The prosecutor tries one more time. Your Honor, I object to this entire proceeding. We haven't had time to vet this witness. Your objection is noted and overruled, the judge says. He looks at Jasmine. Miss Carter, your witness. Jasmine stands, her notes forgotten now. Miss Kang, how do you know my father? Yeah. I don't know him, Yuna says simply. I've never met him. But you know something about the night of March 15th? Yes, I know everything about that night because I was there. The courtroom leans in collectively. Where were you exactly? Jasmine asks. I was in the parking lot of my husband's dealership. Why? Yuna's hands twist in her lap. Because I followed him. I thought he was having an affair. David makes a sound like he's been punched. Yuna continues, her voice steady despite the tears. For weeks he was coming home late, being secretive with his phone. So that night I followed him to the dealership. I parked across the street and watched. And what did you see? I saw your father arrive around 6:30. He and David talked in the parking lot. It looked friendly at first. Then David handed him an envelope. Your father opened it, looked inside, and became angry. What happened next? They argued. Your father threw the envelope on the ground. Money fell out. A lot of money. Then your father got in his car and left. David was alone. What time was this? Jasmine asks, her heart pounding. Around 7 p.m., maybe a few minutes after. So my father left? Yes. He drove away. Then what happened? Yuna takes a shaky breath. David was angry. He got on his phone, pacing. Then he did something I didn't understand. He walked to the wall and he hit his own face against it. The courtroom gasps. What? Judge Brennan leans forward. He slammed his face into the brick wall, Una says, her voice breaking. Once, twice. His nose started bleeding. Then he called the police. Dead silence. Even the prosecutor is frozen. Why? Jasmine whispers. Why would he do that? Una looks at her husband with something like mourning, because 6 months ago, David took out a $2 million insurance policy on the business. If something happened, if he was injured in a workplace incident, the payout would save us from bankruptcy. We're losing everything. The dealerships, the house, all of it. Bad investments, debts I didn't know about. He was desperate. Jasmine can barely say it. So he framed my father for assault to collect insurance money? Una nods, tears streaming down her face. He chose your father because Marcus had asked for a raise that day. David knew he could make it look like revenge. He paid him severance in that envelope, then claimed it was stolen parts money. Everything was a lie. David is standing now, shouting. She's lying, she's mentally unstable, she doesn't know what she's saying. Sit down, the judge roars. Mr. Kang, sit down now or I'll hold you in contempt. The bailiff forces David back into his seat. Jasmine turns to Una. Why didn't you come forward before now? Shame, Una whispers. Fear. I convinced myself maybe I was wrong, maybe I didn't see what I saw. But then I heard about this trial, I saw the news reports, and I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Last night I told David I was going to tell the truth. He begged me. Not to. He said we'd lose everything, and I realized we already had. We lost everything the moment he decided another man's life was worth less than our comfort. Jasmine looks at the jury. 12 faces, stunned into silence. Miss Kang, do you have any proof of what you're saying? Una reaches into her purse and pulls out a phone. I have a video. I was filming from my car because I wanted evidence if David was meeting someone. I didn't realize what I was actually recording until later. Your Honor, Jasmine says, I'd like this video entered into evidence. The prosecutor doesn't even object. She's too shocked. The judge nods. The bailiff takes the phone, connects it to the courtroom monitors. The lights dim, the video plays. Grainy cell phone footage shows the parking lot from across the street. Timestamp says 7:04 p.m. There's Marcus talking to David, the envelope exchange, the argument, Marcus getting in his car and driving away, taillights disappearing into the night. Then, David, alone, pacing, phone to his ear. Then the moment that makes everyone in the courtroom flinch. David, clearly visible in the dealership lights, steps to the brick wall, takes a breath and slams his face forward. Once. Blood spray visible even in the poor quality. Twice. He staggers, touches his nose, looks at the blood on his hands, then he makes another phone call. Even without audio, you can read his lips to the dispatcher. I've been attacked. I need police. Send an ambulance. The video ends. The lights come up. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Then Marcus makes a sound, something between a laugh and a sob. Judge Brennan looks like he's aged 10 years. Mr. Kang, stand up. David stands, his expensive suit suddenly looking like a costume. Mr. Kang, you are hereby held in contempt of this court. Furthermore, I am instructing the prosecutor's office to immediately file charges against you for insurance fraud, filing a false police report, and perjury. Bailiff, take him into custody. As the bailiff moves toward David, the prosecutor finds her voice. Your Honor, in light of this new evidence, the state moves to dismiss all charges against Mr. Marcus Carter immediately. Motion granted, the judge says. Mr. Carter, you are free to go. The bailiff unlocks Marcus's handcuffs. They fall to the floor with a metallic clatter that echoes through the silent courtroom. Marcus rubs his wrists, staring at them like he doesn't believe they're real. Jasmine throws her arms around her father's neck. He catches her, lifting her off the ground, and finally, he breaks. He sobs into her hair while the courtroom watches, while David is led away in handcuffs, while Una sits in the witness chair crying quiet tears for the life she just destroyed to save a stranger. Your Honor, Jasmine says through her own tears, can I ask Miss Kang something? The judge nods, too overwhelmed to speak. Jasmine walks to the witness stand. Miss Kang, why? You didn't know us. You didn't owe us anything. Why did you risk everything? Una looks at this 13-year-old girl who just saved her father with nothing but courage and preparation. Because, Una says softly, I have a daughter too. She's 9, and I needed to be able to look at her and know I did the right thing, even if it cost me everything. Jasmine takes Una's hand. Thank you. You saved my dad's life. Una squeezes back. No, you saved his life. I just told the truth. You're the one who fought for him when everyone else had given up. The courtroom erupts in applause. Judge Brennan doesn't stop it. He sits back in his chair and lets it happen. This moment of justice that almost didn't come, saved by a child who refused to accept the world's verdict. The prosecutor approaches Marcus. Mr. Carter, on behalf of the state, I apologize. We'll be pursuing full exoneration and compensation for your time in custody. Marcus nods, unable to speak. Jasmine helps him gather the papers she brought, her careful notes and highlighted documents and timeline she constructed from library computers because they couldn't afford internet at home. As they walk out of the courtroom, reporters swarm, questions flying like birds startled from a tree. Jasmine, how did you know? Where did you learn to do that? Marcus shields her with his body. No comment, he says. We just want to go home. But one reporter, a young black woman with a microphone, manages to get close. Jasmine, what made you believe in your father when everyone else had given up? Jasmine stops, turns, looks directly into the camera. Because he's my dad, she says simply, and dads who spend every night reading bedtime stories, who work double shifts so you can have new shoes, who teach you that your word is your bond, those dads don't become violent criminals overnight. I knew who he was, I just had to prove it to everyone else. Outside the courthouse, the sunlight feels different. Marcus hasn't seen sun that isn't filtered through bars in 3 months. He stands on the steps, face turned up, breathing free air. Baby, he says finally, where did you learn all that? The legal stuff, the cross-examination? Jasmine shrugs. Library books, YouTube videos. I watched a lot of Law and Order. And Miss Chen, my social studies teacher, she used to be a paralegal. She helped me understand the rules of evidence. Marcus pulls her close again. I'm so sorry, he whispers. Sorry you had to do that. Sorry I couldn't protect you from this. You did protect me, Jasmine says. You protected me my whole life. It was my turn. They walk to the bus stop because they don't have a car anymore. It was sold to pay for bail they couldn't afford. They'll ride public transportation home to the apartment they're about to be evicted from because Marcus lost his job and his reputation. But for now, they're together. For now, he's free. For now, that's enough. On the bus, Marcus asks, how did you know to ask about the hospital time? Jasmine pulls out her notes. I didn't. Not at first, but I read the police report like 50 times, and I noticed Officer Rodriguez wrote that when he arrived at 8:17 p.m., Mr. Kang was already bandaged. The paramedics had already treated him. But if the attack just happened at 8, how were the paramedics already there and done treating him? It didn't make sense. So I requested the hospital records through a Freedom of Information Act request. Miss Chen helped me file it. Marcus stares at his daughter. You're 13. I'm 13 and mad, Jasmine says. There's a difference. 3 weeks later, Jasmine goes back to school. She's been homeschooling since the arrest, too ashamed to face her classmates, too worried about her father to focus. But now she walks through the front doors of Jefferson Middle School with her head high. The whispers follow her. That's her. That's the girl who defended her dad. I saw it on the news. She's like a genius or something. Her best friend Shanice runs up, throws her arms around her. Girl, you are a legend. You know that? Jasmine laughs. I'm just glad it's over. Is it though? Shanice asks quietly. Is your dad okay? Jasmine's smile fades a little. He's struggling. He can't find work. Nobody wants to hire someone who was arrested, even if the charges were dropped. The news covered the trial, but not really the aftermath. People still look at him differently. In history class, Miss Chen pulls her aside. I'm proud of you, Jasmine. What you did took courage. Jasmine nods. Thank you for helping me. I couldn't have done it without you. Miss Chen hands her a folder. I've been thinking, have you ever considered becoming a lawyer? Real ones get paid, Jasmine jokes, but she opens the folder. Inside are applications for youth law programs, summer internships, scholarship information. You have a gift, Miss Chen says, and more importantly, you have the heart for this work. Don't let it go to waste. That night, Jasmine shows her father the folder. He's sitting at their small kitchen table, looking through job listings, circling possibilities that will probably reject him. He looks up, sees the applications, and something shifts in his face. You want to be a lawyer? Maybe, Jasmine says. Is that crazy? Marcus sets down his pen. Baby, after what you did, nothing you want to do is crazy, but law school is expensive. We'll figure it out, Jasmine says. We always do. Marcus looks at his daughter, this child who saved his life, who fought for him when the whole world had written him off. He thinks about Unikang, who lost everything to tell the truth. He thinks about the prosecutor who apologized. He thinks about Judge Brennan, who bent the rules to let justice happen. And he thinks about David Kang sitting in a cell, facing years in prison for a crime of desperation and greed. You know what the saddest part is, Marcus says quietly. I almost took the plea deal. I almost gave up. Why didn't you? Jasmine asks. Marcus reaches across the Table takes his daughter's hand because the night before the trial, you came to see me in jail and you brought your notes and you said, Dad, I'm not letting them do this to you. And I realized that if I gave up, I'd be teaching you to give up too. I'd be teaching you that the world gets to decide your worth. I couldn't do that to you. Jasmine squeezes his hand, so we saved each other. Yeah, Marcus says, we did. 2 months later, the local news runs a follow-up story. Marcus has found work at a union auto shop, the only place that would hire him. The pay is decent, they're catching up on rent. Jasmine has been accepted into a summer program for young people interested in law. David Kang pled guilty to insurance fraud and perjury. He's serving 4 years. Yuna Kang filed for divorce and moved with their daughter to Oregon, starting over. The reporter asks Jasmine what she learned from the experience. I learned that the truth matters, she says. But more than that, I learned that the truth doesn't defend itself. Someone has to fight for it. And sometimes that someone has to be you. Even when you're scared, even when everyone's laughing, even when you're just a kid with library books and hope. The interview ends. The reporter packs up. Jasmine walks home from school, her backpack heavy with homework and law books she's already reading even though she's only in 8th grade. She passes the courthouse where it all happened. She doesn't go in, she doesn't need to. That building doesn't define her anymore. What defines her is what she did inside it. The choice to stand when everyone else sat down. The choice to speak when silence was easier. The choice to believe in someone when belief was all she had to offer. At home, Marcus is making dinner. Spaghetti, nothing fancy, but he's singing while he cooks, something he hasn't done in years. Hey baby, he calls when she comes in. How was school? Good, she says, dropping her backpack. Miss Chen says there's a mock trial. Competition next month. She thinks I should join. You should, Marcus says. You'd destroy them. Jasmine laughs. Maybe. She sits at the table, watching her father move around the kitchen. This man who used to come home exhausted and defeated every night, who now has light in his eyes again. Dad? She says quietly. Yeah, baby. Do you ever think about Mr. Kang? Marcus's hand pauses on the pot he's stirring. Sometimes. What do you think about? Jasmine asks. Marcus is quiet for a long moment. I think about how close I came to being him. What do you mean? I mean, desperate people do desperate things. He was drowning and he grabbed for anything to save himself. Even if it meant pulling someone else under. I've been that desperate before. The only difference is I didn't have the option he had. I couldn't fake being attacked and collect insurance. I didn't have insurance. I didn't have anything except you. And that saved me. Jasmine frowns. I don't understand. Marcus turns off the stove. Comes to sit across from her. When you have nothing to lose, you're dangerous. But when you have one precious thing, even if it's all you have, you'll do anything to protect it. You were my one thing. So I couldn't become what the world expected me to be. I had to stay who you needed me to be. Even when it was hard, even when it would have been easier to give up or give in or become bitter and angry, because you were watching and I couldn't let you down. Tears prick Jasmine's eyes. You never let me down. I let you down by getting arrested in the first place, Marcus says. By being in that position, by being so broke and desperate that when Kang offered me that severance money, I was angry instead of grateful. If I'd just taken it and walked away, then he would have found someone else to frame, Jasmine says. Someone without a daughter to fight for them. Someone who'd still be in prison right now. You didn't do anything wrong, Dad. You were just the available target for someone else's crime. Marcus nods slowly. Maybe, but I'm still sorry you had to grow up so fast, that you had to be the adult when I couldn't be. Jasmine reaches across the table. I'm not sorry. I'm proud. I'm proud I could help you. I'm proud of what we did together, and I'm proud that when the world tried to throw us away, we fought back. They eat dinner together, pasta and cheap sauce, but it tastes like victory. Later, Jasmine lies in bed, unable to sleep. She thinks about Yuna Kang, wonders how she's doing, if her daughter understands why they had to leave everything behind. She thinks about Judge Brennan and whether he bends the rules for other kids or if she was just lucky. She thinks about all the people who didn't get lucky, who didn't have someone to fight for them, who are sitting in cells right now for crimes they didn't commit because the system ground them up and spit them out. And she makes a promise to herself. A promise that this won't be the last time, that she'll learn everything. She can become the best lawyer possible and fight for the people who can't fight for themselves, because now she knows something most people never learn. The system isn't designed for justice, it's designed for efficiency. And sometimes, to get justice, you have to break the design. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. She almost deletes it. Then she reads it. This is Yuna Kang. I hope it's okay that I'm reaching out. I got your number from Miss Chen, your teacher. I just wanted to tell you thank you again for what you did. My daughter asks about you all the time. She wants to know if she can be brave like you when she grows up. I tell her you weren't just brave. You were prepared, and that's the real lesson. Courage without preparation is just recklessness. You had both. I hope you continue to fight for people. The world needs more fighters like you. Jasmine reads the message 3 times, then she types back, "Thank you for being brave too. You lost everything to save my dad. I won't forget that. Ever. If you or your daughter ever need anything, you can call me. We take care of our own." She hits send. 3 dots appear. Then, "We're family now, in the way that matters. We survived the storm together. Take care, Jasmine. Make the world better." "I will," Jasmine types. "I promise." She puts down her phone. Outside her window, the city lights glow against the dark sky. Somewhere out there, her father sleeps peacefully for the first time in months. Somewhere out there, David Kang stares at cell walls, living with his choices. Somewhere out there, Yuna Kang tucks her daughter into bed and tells her stories about courage and truth. And somewhere out there, another family is facing their own impossible situation, their own corrupt system, their own moment where they have to decide whether to fight or surrender. Jasmine closes her eyes, and she dreams of courtrooms and gavels and the moment when truth breaks through lies like sunlight through clouds. She dreams of becoming someone who makes that happen over and over for as long as she can. 1 year later, Jasmine stands in front of her high school. She skipped a grade because Miss Chen advocated for her, argued that keeping her back was wasting potential. She's 14 now, the youngest freshman, but nobody laughs at her anymore. They know better. The mock trial team made it to nationals. She's been featured in a documentary about kids who changed the justice system. Harvard sent her a letter saying they're watching her academic progress with interest. But today, she's nervous for a different reason. Today, she's giving a speech to the incoming freshman class about resilience. She stands at the podium, looking out at hundreds of faces, mostly black and brown, mostly poor, mostly convinced the world has already decided what they're worth. She clears her throat. "My name is Jasmine Carter, and last year I defended my father in a criminal trial when I was 13 years old. Some of you might have heard about it. Some of you might think I'm special, or gifted, or lucky. I'm here to tell you that's not true. I'm here to tell you that I was just desperate and stubborn and too angry to quit. And if that's special, then all of you are special too, because every single person in this room has faced something that tried to break you. Poverty, racism, violence, family members in prison, parents who left, systems that don't care if you live or die. You've all faced it, and you're all still here. That makes you fighters already." The auditorium is silent, listening. "I didn't save my father because I was smart. I saved him because I refused to accept the story they were telling about him, about us. The story that says people like us are disposable, that our lives don't matter as much, that we should just accept injustice because fighting back is too hard." So here's what I want to tell you today. Your story isn't written yet, no matter what anyone has told you, no matter what you've been through or where you come from or what's in your school record or what neighborhood you live in. You get to write your own ending. But, and this is important, you have to prepare for it. Courage alone isn't enough. I couldn't have saved my father on courage. I needed knowledge. I needed to study. I needed to prepare. I needed to know the rules so I could use them. So here's my challenge to you. Whatever you want to be, whoever you want to become, start preparing for it now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone to believe in you. Don't wait until you feel ready because you'll never feel ready. Start now. Read everything. Learn everything. Ask questions. Demand answers. And when the world tries to tell you who you are, tell it no. Tell it you've already decided. The applause starts small, then builds, then becomes deafening. Students are on their feet. Teachers are crying. The principal, who wasn't sure this speech was a good idea, is clapping so hard her hands hurt. Jasmine steps back from the podium, her heart pounding. She did it. She told them. She gave them permission to believe in themselves. After the assembly, a small girl approaches her. She's maybe 12, thin, with old eyes. She reminds Jasmine of herself a year ago. "Excuse me," she says quietly. Jasmine turns. "Hi." The girl twists her hands. "My mom's in jail. She didn't do what they said. But we can't afford a lawyer and I don't know what to do, and I heard your speech and I don't know. I thought maybe." She trails off, embarrassed. Jasmine kneels down to her eye level. "What's your name?" "Destiny." "Okay, Destiny, tell me everything." And there, in the hallway of a public high school, while students rush past them to their next class, Jasmine listens to another story of injustice, another family being crushed by a system that doesn't see them as human. She listens, and she takes notes, and she starts to form a plan, because this is who she is now. This is what she does. She fights. When Destiny finishes, Jasmine says, "I can't promise I can fix this. I'm not a lawyer yet, but I can help you understand the system. I can teach you what I know, and we can figure out together what to do next. Is that okay? Destiny nods, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time in months. When can we start? Right now, Jasmine says. Let's go to the library. They walk together down the hallway, this 14-year-old girl who defended her father and this 12-year-old who desperately needs someone to defend her mother. Behind them, Miss Chen watches with a small smile. She pulls out her phone and sends a text to Marcus. Your daughter just found her next case. He texts back immediately. Of course she did. She's her father's daughter. No, Miss Chen types back. She's her own person, and she's magnificent. That night, Jasmine sits at the kitchen table with Destiny, teaching her how to read police reports, how to spot inconsistencies, how to file public records requests. Marcus makes them hot chocolate and sandwiches, playing support staff to his daughter's operation. This is going to be your life, isn't it? He says quietly, watching her work. What do you mean? Jasmine asks, not looking up from the papers. Helping people, fighting for them. You're not going to be one of those lawyers who gets rich defending corporations. You're going to be in the trenches. Jasmine looks up at him. Is that bad? No, baby, Marcus says, his voice thick. It's perfect. It's exactly who you should be. Just promise me one thing. What's that? Take care of yourself too. You can't save everyone. I can try, Jasmine says. Her father smiles sadly. Yeah, you can try. 3 months later, Destiny's mother is released. The charges weren't dropped. They were never even filed. Turns out the evidence was so thin, the prosecutor's office declined to prosecute once someone, a 14-year-old someone, started asking hard questions and filing freedom of information requests and generally making noise. Destiny brings her mother to meet Jasmine. The woman is crying before she even says hello. She just holds Jasmine and whispers, "Thank you," over and over until the words run together into a prayer. My baby told me what you did, she says finally, pulling back to look at Jasmine. You gave her hope when I couldn't. You showed her how to fight. I don't know how to repay you. You don't have to repay me, Jasmine says. Just be there for Destiny. That's all she needs. The woman nods, wiping her eyes. And if you ever need anything at all, you call me. You hear me? We're family now. Jasmine smiles. I hear you. After they leave, Marcus finds Jasmine sitting on the front steps of their apartment building, staring at nothing. You okay, baby? She nods. Just thinking. About what? About how many people are out there right now, sitting in cells or facing charges or being ground up by the system, and nobody's fighting for them. Nobody even knows their names. Marcus sits down beside her. You can't save them all. I know, Jasmine says quietly, but I can save some. And maybe if I save enough, other people will start saving some. And maybe eventually we change the whole system. That's a long road, her father says. I know, but I've got time. And I've got something most people don't have. What's that? I've seen what happens when one person decides to fight. I've seen how one voice can change everything. Because that's what you did, baby. You changed everything. Not just for me, for everyone who watched. For everyone who saw that the system can be beaten if you're prepared and brave enough. You gave people hope. And hope is dangerous to corrupt systems. It makes people fight back. They sit in silence for a moment, watching cars pass on the street below. Then Jasmine asks the question that's been haunting her. Dad, do you think Mr. Kang deserves forgiveness? Marcus takes a long breath. I think, he says slowly, that hurt people. David Kang was drowning in debt and fear, and he made a terrible choice. He tried to destroy me to save himself. That's not forgivable. But it is understandable, and understanding isn't the same as excusing. So no, I don't forgive him for what he tried to do. But I understand why he did it, and I hope, wherever he is, he's learning to be better. Does that make sense? Jasmine nods. Yeah, it does. What about Miss Kang? Do you ever think about her? Every day, Marcus says. That woman sacrificed everything for a stranger. She lost her marriage, her home, her whole life. To save me, someone she'd never met. That's the kind of courage most people never find. I want to be like her when I grow up, Jasmine says. You already are, baby. You already are. 6 months later, Jasmine gets a call from a number she doesn't recognize. She almost doesn't answer. Then something tells her to pick up. Hello, Jasmine. It's Yuna Kang. Jasmine sits up straight. Miss Kang? Hi, how are you? Yuna laughs, but it sounds tired. I'm okay. Starting over. It's hard, but we're managing. My daughter's doing well. She asks about you constantly. Tell her I said hi. I will. Listen, I'm calling because I saw the news story about you helping that other girl. Destiny. Yeah. Jasmine, I'm so proud of you. You're doing exactly what I hoped you would. You're making the world better. Thank you, Jasmine says, her throat tight. That means a lot coming from you. Yuna is quiet for a moment. I also wanted to tell you something I should have said a long time ago. What's that? I'm sorry. For what? For not coming forward sooner. For letting your father sit in that cell for 3 months while I wrestled with my conscience. For almost letting him take a plea deal for something he didn't do. I'm sorry it took me so long to do the right thing. Miss Kang, Jasmine says firmly, you saved my father's life. You lost everything to tell the truth. You have nothing to apologize for. But I could have done it sooner. But you did it. That's what matters. A lot of people never do it at all. They keep the secret forever. You chose truth over comfort. That's everything. Yuna is crying now. Thank you, she whispers, for understanding, for not hating me. I could never hate you, Jasmine says. You're a hero. My hero. They talk for another hour. Yuna tells her about Oregon, about her daughter's new school, about the job she found at a bakery. Jasmine tells her about the mock trial team, about Destiny's case, about her plans for law school. When they finally hang up, Jasmine feels lighter somehow, like a circle has been closed. That night, she writes in the journal Miss Chen gave her, documenting everything she's learned, every case she's worked on, every lesson about justice and mercy and the complicated space between them. She writes, Today, I learned that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about understanding that people are more than their worst moments. Mr. Kang made a terrible choice, but Miss Kang made a beautiful one. My father chose to keep fighting even when it seemed hopeless. I chose to believe in him when no one else would. We're all just making choices every day about who we want to be. And I choose to be someone who fights for people who can't fight for themselves, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. She closes the journal and turns off the light. Tomorrow she has school. Next week she has another mock trial competition. Next month she's meeting with a public defender who wants to talk to her about an internship. Next year she'll apply to college, probably with a full scholarship if her grades stay perfect. And after that, law school. And after that, a lifetime of courtrooms and cases and fighting for truth in a system designed to obscure it. It's a long road, but she's ready. 2 years later, Jasmine graduates high school at 16, top of her class, with acceptance letters from every Ivy League school and a full ride to Stanford. The local news does another story. The girl who saved her father is now headed to one of the best universities in the country. They interview her on the courthouse steps, the same place she walked out with her father that day. How does it feel, the reporter asks, to have come this far? Jasmine looks at the courthouse behind her. It feels like the beginning, she says. Not the end. The beginning of what? Of keeping the promise I made to myself, to fight for people who need someone in their corner. This, she gestures to the building, this was just the first fight. There are going to be so many more, and I'm going to win as many as I can. The reporter smiles. You sound very confident. I'm not confident, Jasmine corrects. I'm prepared. There's a difference. Confidence is thinking you can't lose. Preparation is knowing that even if you lose, you gave everything you had. And that's all anyone can ask. What would you say to other young people, especially young black girls, who feel like the system is stacked against them? Jasmine looks directly into the camera. I'd say you're right. The system is stacked against you. It was designed that way. But that doesn't mean you have to accept it. Study the system, learn its rules, understand its weaknesses, and then use everything you've learned to break it down and build something better. You're not too young, you're not too powerless. You're exactly what the world needs. So stop waiting for permission and start preparing for war, because that's what this is. It's a war for justice, for dignity, for the right to be seen as fully human. And wars aren't won by people who wait for someone else to save them. They're won by people who save themselves and then turn around and save others. Be that person. The clip goes viral. Young activists share it. Teachers show it in classrooms. Destiny, now 14 herself and working on her own case helping a friend, watches it 50 times. At the graduation party, small and intimate in their apartment, Marcus raises a glass of sparkling cider. To my daughter, he says, his voice breaking, who saved my life and is now going to save so many others. I'm so proud of you, baby. So incredibly proud. Jasmine clinks her glass against his. I couldn't have done any of it without you, Dad. You taught me that your word is your bond, that truth matters, that you fight for the people you love. Everything I am is because of you. They drink, and Jasmine tastes possibility, the future spreading out before her like an unwritten book. Miss Chen is there, and Destiny and her mother, and a few other families Jasmine has helped over the years. They eat cake and laugh and tell stories. And for a moment, the struggle stops. For a moment, there's just joy. But later, after everyone has gone home, Jasmine stands at her window, looking out at the city lights. Her phone buzzes, a text from another unknown number. Hi, my name is Marcus, but everyone calls me Little Marcus. I'm 12. My big brother is in jail for something he didn't do. I heard about what you did for your dad. Can you help me? Jasmine stares at the message. She could ignore it. She could say she's going to college soon, she doesn't have time, someone else should handle it. She could protect herself, save her energy for Stanford, for building her own future. But that's not who she is. That's not who she chose to be. She texts back, "Tell me everything." And as the boy's story pours out in fragmented texts, Jasmine pulls out her laptop and starts taking notes. Because this is who she is now. This is what she does. She fights. The screen glows in the darkness, illuminating her face, determined and fierce and impossibly young, 16 years old and already carrying the weight of other people's freedom on her shoulders. But she doesn't feel the weight. She feels purpose. 3 months before Stanford, Jasmine takes on little Marcus's case. His brother, 18-year-old Darnell, is accused of armed robbery. The evidence is thin, just one eyewitness identification and the fact that Darnell was in the area, but he has a public defender who's overworked and underpaid, and the prosecutor is pushing hard for a guilty plea. Jasmine meets with Darnell in jail. He's skinny and scared and trying to act tough. "So you're the girl who saved her pops," he says, trying to sound unimpressed. "I'm the girl who's going to save you if you let me," Jasmine says. "What do you need me to do?" "Tell me the truth. Everything, even the parts you're ashamed of, even the parts that make you look bad. I can't help you if you lie to me." Darnell studies her for a long moment, then he starts talking. He was in the area because he was buying weed. Not proud of it, but that's the truth. He was 2 blocks away from the robbery when it happened. He heard sirens and ran because he was holding and didn't want to get caught. That's when the cops grabbed him. The witness, a store clerk, picked him out of a lineup, but Darnell swears he's never seen the man before in his life. Jasmine takes notes. Did they show the witness a photo lineup or a live lineup? Live. Were you the only black teenager in the lineup? Darnell blinks. Actually, yeah. Everyone else was older. Mid-20s at least. Jasmine's pen stops. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Suggestive lineups can be challenged. If you were the only person matching the initial description, the identification is tainted. Darnell leans forward. Does that mean I can get out? It means we have a shot. She spends the next 2 months working with Darnell's public defender, a woman named Sarah Chen, no relation to Miss Chen, who's initially skeptical but quickly realizes Jasmine knows what she's doing. Together they file a motion to suppress the identification. They cite case law, precedent, constitutional protections against suggestive procedures. The prosecutor fights back hard. But in the hearing, Jasmine sits in the gallery and watches Sarah dismantle the identification process piece by piece. The witness admits he only saw the robber for a few seconds, admits the lighting was poor, admits he was terrified and might have made a mistake. And when Sarah presents evidence that Darnell's phone GPS puts him 2 blocks away at the exact time of the robbery, the prosecutor's case collapses like a house of cards. Charges dismissed. Darnell walks out of that courthouse and the first thing he does is find Jasmine in the crowd. He doesn't say anything. He just hugs her and cries. "Thank you," he whispers. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "You did the work," Jasmine says. "You told the truth. I just helped people hear it." Later, little Marcus brings his brother to meet Jasmine's father. The 4 of them sit in the Carters' small living room and Marcus tells Darnell what he told Jasmine 2 years ago. "This doesn't define you. What you do next, that defines you. Don't waste this second chance." Darnell nods, solemn. "I won't, Mr. Carter. I swear I won't." And he doesn't. 6 months later, Jasmine gets a text. It's Darnell. He's enrolled in community college. He's studying to be a paralegal. He wants to help people the way Jasmine helped him. She shows the text to her father. "See," she says, smiling, "it spreads. One person fighting leads to another person fighting leads to change." Marcus pulls her close. "I'm going to miss you when you leave for Stanford. I'm going to miss you too, Dad. But I'll be back. Every break, every summer. This is home. This is where the work is." "Promise me something," Marcus says. "What?" "Promise me you won't forget to live your own life. You're 16. You should be going to parties, making friends, being a kid." "I'm not a kid anymore, Dad. I haven't been for a long time." "I know," he says sadly. "And that's my fault. It's not your fault. What happened to you, what happened to us, that wasn't your fault. We survived it, and now we're helping other people survive. That's not a burden. That's a blessing." Marcus looks at his daughter, this extraordinary person who came from him but has surpassed him in every way that matters. When did you get so wise, baby? When I had to, she says simply. August arrives. Jasmine packs her bags for Stanford. The apartment is full of people saying goodbye. Destiny is there, crying. Miss Chen brings a care package. Little Marcus and Darnell bring a card signed by every person in the neighborhood Jasmine has helped. Yuna Kang sends flowers from Oregon with a note that says, "Go change the world." At the airport, Marcus walks Jasmine to security. They stand there, both trying not to cry. I'm scared, she admits quietly. Of what? Of not being good enough. Of getting there and realizing I'm not as smart as everyone else. Of letting people down. Marcus takes her face in his hands. Listen to me. You defended me in a criminal trial when you were 13 years old. You saved Destiny's mother. You saved Darnell. You've changed laws, changed lives, changed the future for dozens of people. You've already done more than most people do in a lifetime. And you're just getting started. So no, baby. You're not going to let anyone down. You're going to blow them away. Jasmine hugs him tight. I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby. So much. Now go. Go be great. She walks through security, turns back one last time to wave. Marcus waves back and then she's gone, swallowed by the crowd, heading toward her future. Marcus stands there long after she's disappeared. This man who was almost destroyed by lies, saved by his daughter's courage, and now watching her fly toward a destiny bigger than either of them imagined. A security guard approaches. Sir, you can't stand here. Marcus nods. Sorry, I was just my daughter. She's going to Stanford. The guard, a black woman about Marcus's age, smiles. That's wonderful. You must be proud. I am, Marcus says. She saved my life. And now she's going to save a lot of other lives too. The guard's smile widens. We need more young people like that. We do, Marcus agrees. And thanks to her, I think we're going to get them. At Stanford, Jasmine throws herself into her studies. Pre-law track, political science major with a minor in African American studies. She joins the debate team, the mock trial team, the criminal justice reform club. She barely sleeps. Her roommate, a girl from Connecticut named Ashley, watches with concern. You know you don't have to save the world before midterms, right? Yes, I do, Jasmine says, not looking up from her case files. Ashley sits on Jasmine's bed. Talk to me. What's driving this? Jasmine finally looks up. When I was 13, I watched my father sit in a jail cell for 3 months for a crime he didn't commit. I watched the system try to grind him into nothing, and the only reason he's free today is because I refused to let it happen. So yeah, I kinda do have to save the world, because I've seen what happens when nobody does. Ashley is quiet for a moment. Okay, she says finally, but you also have to eat, sleep, and occasionally remember you're human. Deal? Deal, Jasmine says, but she doesn't mean it. She can't afford to be human, too many people are counting on her. But 3 weeks into the semester, she hits a wall. She's in constitutional law, and the professor, a white man in his 60s named Holloway, is discussing Terry stops and reasonable suspicion. He presents a hypothetical. Officer sees a young black male in a high crime area wearing baggy clothes and a hoodie. Does the officer have reasonable suspicion to stop and frisk? Before Jasmine can think, she's on her feet. No, she says, her voice sharp. Race and location aren't reasonable suspicion. That's racial profiling. Professor Holloway raises an eyebrow. Miss Carter, I presume? Yes, sir. Well, Miss Carter, case law would disagree with you. Terry versus Ohio established that. Terry versus Ohio was decided in 1968, Jasmine interrupts, and it's been used to justify racial profiling ever since. Just because something is legal doesn't make it right. The classroom goes silent. Professor Holloway leans back in his chair. Interesting. Tell me, Miss Carter, if you were the officer in this scenario, what would you do? I wouldn't be an officer in a system that requires me to violate people's dignity to do my job, Jasmine says. But if I were, I'd need actual articulable facts suggesting criminal activity, not just a black kid in a hoodie existing in his own neighborhood. The professor smiles, and it's not unkind. Good answer. Provocative, but good. Class, this is why we study law, not just to learn what it is, but to question what it should be. Miss Carter, see me after class. Jasmine's heart pounds, certain she's about to be disciplined. But when everyone leaves, Professor Holloway says, I read about you. The case with your father. Jasmine stiffens. Okay, that was impressive work. Thank you. But you can't fight every battle like you're in that courtroom, Miss Carter. You'll burn out before you even get your degree. With respect, sir, people are dying while we debate hypotheticals. I can't afford to pace myself. He nods slowly. I understand. But let me tell you something I've learned in 40 years of teaching law. The students who burn brightest often burn out fastest. The ones who change the system are the ones who learn to sustain the fight over decades, not months. Think marathon, not sprint. Jasmine wants to argue, but she's exhausted and he might be right. I'll try, she says. Good. He hands her a business card. This is a friend of mine. She runs a legal aid clinic in East Palo Alto. They need smart, passionate law students. Interested? Yes, Jasmine says immediately. Thank you. She starts at the clinic the next week. It's chaos. Overcrowded, underfunded, serving mostly poor Black and Latino families with nowhere else to turn. Immigration cases, housing disputes, criminal defense, family law, everything and anything. Jasmine is assigned to work with a third-year law student named James. He's 25, tired, and initially annoyed to be babysitting a freshman until he sees her work. She interviews clients with empathy and precision. She spots issues in case files that he missed. She researches like her life depends on it because she knows someone else's does. After 2 weeks, James pulls her aside. Okay, I'm sorry I underestimated you. You're good at this. Really good. Thanks, Jasmine says. But I feel like I'm not doing enough. We're triaging, helping people survive but not fixing the system that's hurting them. That's the work, James says. You can't fix the whole system at once. You fix it one case at a time, one person at a time. And eventually, if enough people do that, the system changes. Jasmine nods, but frustration gnaws at her. One case at a time feels too slow when people are suffering now. That night, she calls her father. How's school, baby? Hard, she admits. I'm learning so much, but it feels like the more I learn, the more I realize how broken everything is. Welcome to the law, Marcus says with a sad laugh. It's designed to frustrate people into giving up. Don't let it. I'm trying. But Dad, sometimes I wonder if I'm making any real difference. Are you helping people? Yes. Then you're making a difference. It might not feel like enough, but to the people you're helping, you're everything. You're the difference between hope and despair. That's not nothing, baby. That's everything. Jasmine closes her eyes. I miss you. I miss you too. But I'm so proud of you. Every day, I'm so proud. They talk until Jasmine's exhaustion finally catches up with her. She falls asleep with her phone still in her hand, her father's voice still echoing in her head. Keep fighting, baby. Just keep fighting. 3 years later, Jasmine is in her junior year. She's interned at the ACLU, worked on a Supreme Court amicus brief, published an article in the Stanford Law Review about reforming eyewitness identification procedures. She's been profiled in Time magazine as one of the most promising young activists in America. But she's also exhausted. The work never stops. There's always another case, another person who needs help, another injustice to fight. She's 20 years old and feels 50. Then she gets the call that changes everything. Miss Carter, this is Detective Ramirez with the San Francisco Police Department. We need your help with a case. Jasmine sits up. What kind of case? A wrongful conviction. We've been reviewing old cases and we found one that, well, it has some similarities to what happened with your father. We think an innocent man might be in prison, and we need someone who understands how these things happen to help us prove it. When can you start? The man's name is Robert Chen. He's 45 and has been in prison for 22 years for a murder he didn't commit. The evidence against him was always thin, just one eyewitness and a coerced confession. But he was a poor Chinese immigrant with limited English, no resources, and a public defender who barely tried. The real killer was never found. The case went cold. Robert gave up hope years ago. But now, new DNA technology has excluded him as the source of biological evidence found at the scene. The problem is, the DA's office is fighting the release. They're arguing the DNA is inconclusive, that other evidence still supports the conviction. They don't want to admit they put an innocent man away for 2 decades. Jasmine meets Robert in prison. He's small, grey-haired, broken. When she introduces herself in Mandarin, learned specifically for this meeting, his eyes fill with tears. You speak Chinese, he says, in Mandarin, my mother's language. I wanted to be able to talk to you properly, Jasmine responds, to honor you. Robert covers his face and cries. Nobody has honored me in 22 years. They sit together for 3 hours. Robert tells her everything. The night of the murder, he was working a double shift at a restaurant in Chinatown, but his manager, the only person who could verify this, died 15 years ago. The restaurant closed. The records are gone. He has no alibi. But he didn't do it. He swears on everything he holds sacred. He didn't do it. I believe you, Jasmine says, and I'm going to get you out of here. How? Robert asks. You're just a student. I'm a student who knows how to fight, Jasmine says, and I've been training for this my whole life. She assembles a team. Professor Holloway agrees to supervise. James, now a practicing attorney, joins pro bono. They bring in investigators, DNA experts, anyone who can help. They work 18-hour days for 6 months, building the case, finding new evidence, tracking down witnesses who were never interviewed. And slowly, piece by piece, they prove that Robert Chen didn't just possibly not commit this murder. He definitely didn't commit it. They find the real killer's DNA in the database. A man who's already in prison for a different murder, committed 2 years after Robert was convicted. They find 3 witnesses who saw this man near the scene on the night of the murder. They find evidence that the original detective in Robert's case had tunnel vision, ignoring leads that didn't fit his theory. They build an airtight case, and then they go to war. The hearing is in San Francisco Superior Court. The DA's office sends their best prosecutor, a woman determined to protect the conviction. Jasmine, now allowed to argue as a certified law student under Professor Holloway's supervision, stands at the defense table. The courtroom is packed. News cameras, advocacy groups, and in the front row, Marcus Carter and Yuna Kang, who flew in from Oregon specifically for this. Jasmine sees them and feels strength flow into her. All rise, the bailiff calls. Judge Morrison enters, a black woman in her 60s who's seen it all. This is a habeas corpus petition, she begins, on behalf of Robert Chen. She looks at Jasmine. Miss Carter, I've heard a lot about you. Let's see if it's true. Proceed. Jasmine stands. Your Honor, 22 years ago, Robert Chen was convicted of a murder he didn't commit, not because the evidence against him was strong, but because he was vulnerable. He was poor. He was an immigrant. He didn't speak English well, and the system failed him. Today, we're here to correct that failure. She spends 2 hours methodically presenting evidence, the DNA exclusion, the alternative suspect whose DNA matches the scene, the witnesses, the coerced confession, the inadequate defense. Every point is documented, cited, proven beyond doubt. The prosecutor fights back, but she's defending the indefensible. The evidence is overwhelming. At the end, Judge Morrison removes her glasses. Mr. Chen, please stand. Robert stands, shaking. Jasmine takes his hand. I have reviewed all the evidence presented, Judge Morrison says, and I find that no reasonable jury presented with this evidence could have convicted you. Your conviction is hereby vacated. You are free to go. The courtroom erupts. Robert collapses. Jasmine catches him, holding this man who's been in prison since before she was born, and they cry together. Marcus is there in seconds, wrapping both of them in his arms. You did it, baby, he whispers. You saved him. We saved him, Jasmine says. All of us. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Jasmine, how does it feel to free an innocent man? It feels like the beginning, Jasmine says. Robert Chen shouldn't have spent 22 years in prison. That's 22 years stolen from him, from his family, from his life. We can't give that back, but we can make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else. How? By fixing the system, by changing laws, by holding people accountable when they cut corners or coerce confessions or ignore evidence that doesn't fit their narrative. This isn't about one man, it's about a system that's broken, and I'm going to spend my life fixing it. The clip plays on every major news network. Jasmine Carter, the girl, who defended her father at 13, has now freed a man wrongfully imprisoned for 22 years. At 20 years old, she's already changing the legal landscape. Universities offer her early admission to their law programs. Firms offer 6-figure starting salaries if she'll join them after graduation. Advocacy groups beg her to work with them, but Jasmine already knows what she's going to do. She's going to finish Stanford, go to law school, and then open her own practice. A practice dedicated exclusively to wrongful convictions and criminal justice reform. A practice that will never turn away someone who can't afford to pay. A practice that will fight like hell for people the system has thrown away. Because that's who she is. That's who she's always been. The girl who refused to let her father be destroyed. The woman who refuses to let anyone be destroyed. The fighter who will never, ever stop fighting. That night, Jasmine, Marcus, Yuna, Robert, and the whole legal team celebrate at a small Chinese restaurant in the city. Robert insists on ordering everything, spending money he doesn't have because he's free and he wants to share that freedom with the people who gave it back to him. Yuna sits next to Jasmine. You've become exactly who I hoped you would be, she says quietly. No, Jasmine says. I've become who we made possible. Me, you, my dad, everyone who chose truth over comfort. We're all in this together. Yuna smiles. My daughter wants to be a lawyer now, because of you. She says she wants to fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Tell her I'll help her, Jasmine says. When she's ready, I'll be here. Across the table, Marcus and Robert are deep in conversation, two men who survived the system's attempt to destroy them, now building each other up. James leans over to Jasmine. You know this is just the beginning, right? This case is going to open floodgates. Every wrongful conviction in the state is going to end up on your desk. Good, Jasmine says. Let them come. We'll fight every single one. You're insane, James says, but he's smiling. You know that, right? You're absolutely insane. Maybe, Jasmine says, but insanity is thinking you can beat a corrupt system with logic and reason. You can't. You beat it with relentless, unreasonable, insane refusal to accept injustice. So yeah, I'm insane. And I'm just getting started. The celebration goes late into the night, stories are shared, tears are shed, hope is built and rebuilt and fortified. And when Jasmine finally gets back to her dorm room at 3 in the morning, she finds a message waiting. It's from a public defender in Los Angeles. Miss Carter, I have a client who's been in prison for 30 years. The evidence against him was always questionable. I've been fighting for years, but nobody listens. Then I saw what you did for Robert Chen. Can you help? Jasmine looks at her schedule. She has midterms in 2 weeks, a paper due, mock trial finals, but she also has a man who's been in prison for 30 years, waiting for someone to believe him. She types back. Send me everything you have. I'll review it tonight. Let's bring him home, because this is who she is. This is what she does. She fights, and she will never stop fighting, not until the system is fixed, not until every innocent person is free, not until justice isn't just a word, but a reality for everyone, regardless of race or wealth or power. It's an impossible goal, but Jasmine Carter has built her life on doing impossible things. At 13, she defended her father in a criminal trial. At 16, she graduated high school and went to Stanford. At 20, she freed a man wrongfully imprisoned for 22 years. And she's just getting started. The question isn't whether she'll change the world. The question is how much of it she'll change before she's done. And if you were wrongfully accused tomorrow, if the system came for you with all its power and prejudice, if you were sitting in a cell losing hope, would you want someone like Jasmine Carter fighting for you? Or would you want her to stop, to rest, to be reasonable and accept that some injustices can't be fixed? What do you think? Should Jasmine keep fighting at this pace, risking burnout and her own future? Or should she slow down, focus on her own life, and trust that someone else will pick up the fight? Because that's the real question, isn't it? How much are we willing to sacrifice for justice? And who gets to decide when enough is enough?